Yo, what's up? This is Giorgio Martini from Nicest Gang, and in this video we're going to show you how to create generative drums in Bitwig Studio. Previously, I recorded a video doing something really similar with Ableton Live and using also Max for Live. But I didn't give away the drum kit that was actually generating all those sounds. But that kit is now linked in the comments, or actually in the description of this YouTube video. So you can just go ahead and watch the video and also download the Ableton Live set with generative drum kit. But in this video, we're going to do something really similar, but a little bit more flexible with Bitwig Studio, all right? But before, let's just quickly explain a little bit what generative means. Basically, when something is generative, what it means is that it can change its form and shape and its parameters, but at the end of the day, it's still what it was meant to be. So for example, if you have a hi-hat, this hi-hat can be longer, can be shorter, its frequency can be higher, lower, it can have a distortion, maybe chorus, whatever, but at the end of the day, all those parameters fit and make a hi-hat. So let's check how to do that. One of the main ingredients that lets us do these generative drums and sounds in Bitwig Studio, it's a device called Dice XL, and it's created by a guy called Dumkit. Let me recheck. Dumkit. Check him out, he's got some pretty cool stuff, and the device he created, this Dice XL, is really kick-ass. What it basically does, it's a device, it's a wrapper around your instruments, and then when you press a button, it can, so you link one parameter of your instruments, and you can randomize it exactly when you press a button. So I press a button, and I can randomize the value into a certain range. And this way is how we're going to be creating our sounds. So the end result, I'm going to show you right now, it's a techno type of beat with like eight different sounds that they are all generative. And every time I press a key, which is the R key, it generates a brand new amount of sounds. The beat stays the same, but the sounds are generated on the fly and they sound totally different. So here you have it. As you can see, I have a kick. I'm going to hide this. I have a kick, tom, percussion, maracas. This synth is actually not generative. Snare, hi-hat, open hat, and splash. Now I'm going to play all of these clips, and you're going to hear how that sounds. And it sounds the same all the time, of course. But now if I press the R key, all the sounds are going to change. And if I press again, they're going to change again. I press the R key again. So you can hear all the beat is the same, but the sounds are changing. So now I'm going to show you the technique that I use to create all of these sounds from scratch. So let's take a look. Okay, so basically I have this Ableton Live project right here, and over here I just have one kick. I'm going to activate the audio engine. So over here I have a kick. It's just on the floor, and over here I have nothing. So the process goes like this. You go ahead and you download the Dice XL, preset. I'll put the link on the YouTube description. You go ahead and you drag and drop it to the track, and there you have it. So this is the plugin. What you have over here is you have 6 different randomizers. All right. So here you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And here you have this through channel. And basically, what you do is you add inside of the through anything that you want to randomize, or basically any instrument or effect or whatever. So what I'm going to do is I go ahead, I select the through, I click this button, and I'm going to add a FM4 synth. And then I'm going to add some notes, which are already here already. And let's see how that sounds. And by default, unfortunately, the FM4, well, not unfortunately, but the FM4 doesn't react to velocity. But we can actually fix that really quickly by clicking over here and add a modulator. And this modulator is actually an expression modulator. We go ahead, we select it. And now we say that we want to affect the output with the velocity. So I'm going to bring it up all the way until here. And now it should react to velocity. All right. So we are going to add now some noise because we're going to create a generative hi-hat really quick and dirty, but so that you can see actually how this process goes. So right now we have the oscillators are sounding, but we don't want oscillators, we want just noise. So for that we go ahead and we deselect, actually we turn them off, all these oscillators, and we also remove the output of oscillator 1. Nothing is sounding. Now we turn on all the way the noise, and we fix these parameters over here. So frequency all the way up. We don't want no modulation, and the Q to the we don't want no Q parameter. So that's what we have. Okay. Next up, so if you see here, the decay of the noise is set to 68%, and if I turn it all the way down, well, it sounds like that. But with a generative drum, when I press a key, I would make this value jump to here maybe, or maybe to here, or maybe to here, or somewhere in between into a range that I set. So the way that we do this is basically by clicking on one of these 6 guys, not on this one, but one of these ones, and we click on it, and you're going to see all these parameters become blue, which means they can be mapped. All right, so I'm going to click it, and bam. Now I can set the amount or the range that I want to be randomized. Okay, so I click and drag, and this is the amount that it can be randomized. So the maximum is going to be from until here, and the minimum is going to be the very bottom. Okay, click again to go out of mapping mode. Yep, and now every time I press the dice button, you're going to see this blue modulation line change to a random position. See? And if I press play, and of course just one parameter is pretty boring, but what I can do now is add a filter, for example. All right, so I add a filter, and now let's see how the filter sounds. So it sounds like this. And if I move the frequency, the cutoff, I think this range over here is pretty good for many kind of snares, all right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set a frequency, a range between this range. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to pick the first one because the first one was already assigned to this one, and I could, but the thing is if I map all the parameters to the same value, they are all going to be set to the same ranges, which is not fun. What you want is like different ranges that give you different combinations and more interesting sounds. So we'll select the next one, and now we select the range of the cutoff that we want to be that we want to affect. And I can actually then move this guy over here, and that range is still set. So now let's see how that sounds. And when I press now when I press the dice button, you can see that this guy and this guy are jumping to random positions between that range, okay? And as I said before, I can, if I don't want this decay to be so short, I can actually set the minimum to somewhere over here. And I could set also, for example, the resonance also to be randomized. So I go ahead, I click on this guy over here, and then I set the range that I want it to be randomized. And click again here to go out of mapping mode. And when I press the dice button, now all these three parameters are going to be randomized. Let's see how that sounds in. All right, and you can, this way you can just sculpt your sound however you want, and afterwards you set some ranges for some parameters that you think would fit cool or that would be cool to randomize. Okay, so let's add one last thing. For example, something a little bit radical like a flanger. We say okay, and now we can and now let's set the mix parameter to I think this one I had already assigned it, did I? No, I only set, so I'm going to use this one and I assign it to, actually I'm going to show you one thing, is that we've been assigning ranges like from here to here, but we can also assign ranges from with something that is called bipolar. And basically what a bipolar modulation does is, for example, over here you see like this one, this knob starts in the middle, so over here in the middle high, and these ones over here start at the bottom. So you see here, this one can go this way and this one can go that, like to the left and to the right. But this one starts here and then it goes all the way here. So there is, if you have some parameters that are like this, which are called bipolar, what you do for this case is that you set this rectify button off. So I'm going to set the mix here, for example. And now if I set the rectify button off and then I map the range, you're going to see over here when I click and drag that wait. You're going to see, actually here you don't see because it's not a bipolar knob, but still, let's say I'm going to put it here on this side, and now when I press it, the range that is going to be possibly randomized is going to be from here to here and from here to here. So it's going on both directions. All right. So let's see how that looks. So you're going to see the range is going to be this one. Okay. So you see, for example, here is over here, and here is to the left, and there. So let's see how that actually sounds. All right, and basically with this technique is how you actually create your generative sounds. If you want to know how to create a kick, how to create a snare, how to create a hi-hat, I have a couple of videos covering those topics, actually in Ableton Live in Operator, but the concepts are the same in every synth. But if you would like me to create some tutorials on creating snares and hi-hats and kicks with Bitwig Studio, let me know and I would do them. But actually, once you see those videos in making them with the operator, the concepts are easily translatable to Bitwig Studio. So let's take a last look at the end product, which is basically this one over here. So again, I'm going to activate the audio, and again you can see here, if I like for example, let's see the snare over here. I'm going to solo it. And now when I press R, which actually I didn't show you that, if you want to map a key to a button, you just right click and you say map to controller or key, and there, it's waiting. It's already set to R. I'm going to set it to R again. And there you go. So now I have all of my drums, all of my sounds. Actually, the dice button is set to R. So every time I press R, all of them are randomized. And so let's see how that sounds if I now randomize this snare. And you can make it as how do you say it, more radical or less radical, but you have to keep a fair amount of you have to be careful, because if you make the ranges really high or radical, then you run into the probability that it doesn't sound anymore right. So here sometimes you hear some snares sound quite similar, but some others very now and then sound pretty different. And in between you have many different kinds of snares. But this is the risk. This is something you have to live with, because otherwise you would have too many sounds that doesn't sound right. Okay, so let's take a look at lastly to, like for example, this one, the maraca. Now press R. I said maraca, I meant percussion. So this one is much more different, because it doesn't matter too much if it doesn't really sound like whatever it is, but the snare has to sound like a snare. So let's see how everything sounds together. Oops. Now I'm going to press the R key. Again. Again. And another thing that you can do is, like for example over here, I have all these clips of these sounds, and when I press this row, after like 4 bars, they change to some other clip on the same block. So you're changing sounds and you're changing beats. So the difference is bigger. It sounds much more different and it's more interesting. So I'm going to do that. And every 4 bars, I'm going to press the R key. Okay, so let's see how that sounds. Here it comes. Now again. So you see here the snare sounds pretty different. And I can press R now again every time I want, and it's just generating new sounds. And actually, if you like any of these sounds, you can just, let's say that you like this tom. You like this one, you just go ahead and go to through, select this one, you copy it and paste it somewhere else, and you have a brand new preset just generatively created. So that was it for this tutorial. I really hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Subscribe if you haven't, and let me know what kind of videos do you want me to do, what kind of tutorials you're interested in. Let me know if you make something with this. Check out Don Kong's website and his music. He's got some really cool stuff. And I'm going to put all the Ableton Live set, the Max for Live device, the Bitwig Studio project on the description below. So check that out. And thanks for watching. And see you next time. Peace.